Hi team, welcome back. I hope you had a good week, and we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight and today. Never know what's not today. And your professor is really engaged with you, and I know you're really engaged with them, and so we're going to get somewhere here. Now, here's the question that I'm going to deal with that I think should be helpful, and I'll pose it. The sponsor of an executive coaching or an executive coaching relationship is a key relationship. That's the person who called you, reached out to you and said, I want you to deal with these three people in my group. They could be the president, could be the CEO, could be the CFO, COO, could be the HR director. That's generally the ones that do this. How do you keep engaged with this person while keeping confidentiality with your client? Very important. What are the key aspects to engaging the sponsor to keep his or her enthusiasm for your own work high? Because if they're not enthusiastic about your work, they don't finish contracts, or they get out of contracts, or they don't call you back. And you want to have these long-term relationships where you're really trusted, right? So here's some things I've learned over time that can really make a difference and help. Because you got to realize this. They have pressure, financial pressure to produce results, either with their owners or stakeholders or board or stockholders or your boss. They're getting pressure about the money that they're spending with you. They got to account for it. So there's always that tension of, is this person really going to get the job done? And you've got to ally with them. They're feeling great pressure, so here's how you do it. First off, set out ground rules with both your sponsor as well as the people that they want you to coach ahead of time, and tell them what the ground rules are. And the ground rules of confidentiality that I've always used are what I just call broad brush strokes. Broad brush strokes. So go to the sponsor and say, hi, Bill, glad we're going to be working together. Thanks. I see that you want me to work with these 3 or 4 people. Let me tell you about confidentiality, because I know that you need information to know the process is working. And so, but because if I am giving you verbatim things that they're saying and their fears and all that, that you can identify that, then they're not going to open up to me, and they're going to find out that you know, and it won't work. They're going to clam up and just say everything's fine. You will have received no value. So there's got to be a certain amount of trust that they know that this is confidential. But it's not like in psychotherapy where I can't tell you one word. So what I found, Sam, or Bill, I think it's Bill, is broad brushstrokes. I can tell you after seeing your people that there are some themes to look at. Like I've noticed people aren't clear about what they're supposed to do. And I want to talk to you, Bill, about job description clarity. Also, people don't feel like they feel like there's somebody that's kind of getting away with murder and everybody else is working their butts off. And so there's kind of this disparity, and that person happens to be a close relative of a higher upper, so it feels nepotistic. I've also found that people feel like they're not appreciated, that it's all about the work. Nobody asks them how they're doing. So these are broad themes. So you tell Bill that, so he knows, I'm going to give you an executive summary, but it's going to be the brushstrokes. And don't worry, I'll give assignments to the people, but that's where we're going. Bill will go, okay, now I'm getting some data. But then you tell the people the same way, hey, I can't just say we had a session and can't say any more than that. So with the coachees that you're working with, tell them the same thing. It's broad brushstrokes. I'm going to be going after themes that they can help to train, to do different things on. And, I can't think of one instance where people just didn't kind of forget about it after a while. Okay, Townsend's okay, he's not narking to me, he's not a tattletale, and they just get back to work and they open up. Because basically, people want a place to go that they feel safe in, and so you provide that, and you never go beyond the broad brushstrokes so that people can identify specific stuff, and you're fine, unless it's an emergency. However, here's the however here. If it does tend to come up as a problem where your people just will not open up to you, they just sit there, everything's fine, can I leave now? And I've had that happen. Sometimes it's because the people had psychological issues, defensiveness, fear, denial, this sort of thing. That's different. But if you're kind of getting 3 or 4 people and they're all saying the same thing, like, we're doing fine, and you can just tell that they're lying out of fear, and no matter how much assurance you give them of confidentiality, they won't open up. Well, now you've got a diagnosis, right? We're kind of using the medical model here. Diagnosis, what are the symptoms, what's the diagnosis, what's the treatment, what's the prescription, what's health. What do we got here? We got a culture of fear in this organization. And it's not a culture of chaos, it's not a culture of rigidity, it's not a culture of everybody's best friend, it's a culture of fear. And that's what you need to take to your sponsor and with them and the team, and you got to say, we got a problem here. And I've had to do that, where I worked with one company where the owners left. They introduced me in a hotel conference room. I had about 12 key employees, and owners left and said, you guys have a good day. And the team told me, we're not going to say anything to you because it's going to be reprisal. You say one thing that they report to them, they're going to be mean to us, they might fire us, they might be critical of us, get demotions, they're going to yell at us. We're not telling you anything. They were just upfront about it. So I came up with a little system where I said, okay, if the owners become accountable to me, that if you give them reprisal, that I can bust their chops because they're paying me for this and it's working against them, would you open up? And they went, yeah. And then I went to the owners and I said, here's the other half of it. They're afraid of reprisal. That's normal. You're not the bad guys. It just happens. But I need to have your assurance that you will, if I point out things that you're doing wrong, because they give me information about you, about your leadership, about what things are going on. If I'm giving you the right data, will you be kind to them and fair and not reprise? They went, yeah. And it worked. I mean, in fact, I had them do it with the owners there, and they were just honest and got great, painful data, like you're not very consistent as leaders, and you go off skiing too much, and when you're here, you rattle our cages too much, you're not clear. And those owners took everything. I had so much respect for the owners. They did everything and repaired the things that were right. So you got to go that way. That's the point, is deal with the diagnosis of fear. Another one is the enthusiasm. The question was about, how does the sponsor keep the enthusiasm? Just set up your executive summary sessions. I owe you, after, I don't know, once or twice a month, I owe you an executive summary session where I tell you what's going on, and tell them, and I'll always give the coachees specific assignments. And we're working with you and training you as a coach how to do that. And you tell your coachees that you got a specific assignment, either about your character or your competency, and that will help the sponsor experience the fruit continually. Because if they're seeing people are working hard, they're enthusiastic, they're solving problems, they're honest, they're trusting each other, and we're getting those widgets out the door and the public's buying them, they're going to look at the variable and go, that's because of the coach. The coach is doing that. All they want is the fruit. Remember, because that sponsor has to report to those people. So you're allying with them and give them great results. That's what works. Okay? So anyway, have a good session.